Hey, it's Sam here from Train of Thought, helping the world of work to be less stressful. Now, before we do anything, just make sure to hit that subscribe button in the corner so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is quite emotive for quite a few people, and that's giving feedback, delivering feedback, or it's often called having a difficult conversation. In my work, it's probably the thing that comes up most frequently as something people find difficult, particularly around management, but also around just dealing with people in general. You know, how if someone is not doing their best job, if there's something they could improve, how do you have that conversation with them? How do you tell them what they need to be better at? How do you feed back that something wasn't good enough? It comes up a lot. And I found it really difficult when I was a manager too. How do I, if they're not performing, how do I help them? How do I do it in a way that doesn't upset them, that keeps them liking me, that made me feel like I'd done a good job without them kind of hating me? And I think there's a few kind of nuggets for us to talk about there. The need to be liked is really common. It's something we all share. And being a manager, there's a lot of emphasis being put on being liked. You want people who work with you to like you. So that's definitely a really important part of what we're talking about. And also this fear of upsetting someone, which is kind of linked to being liked, but different too. This fear of upsetting someone and them and us being the cause of their distress. That for a lot of us makes us feel kind of knotty in here. Now, I'm going to talk about what I discovered as the secret of delivering feedback. And it's super simple. That is not the same as easy, but it is super simple. And it's an approach to delivering feedback that, for me, completely transformed how I saw it, and I think could work for any one of us if we put it into practice. And the secret, the magic trick for delivering feedback is this: genuinely and authentically have the best interests of the person working for you at heart. Genuinely and authentically have their best interests at heart. Super simple, right? Delivering feedback is not that hard if you genuinely love and care about the person you're feeding back to. If you want the best for them, you want them to flourish and be brilliant and succeed, then giving feedback's not that difficult because it puts them at the heart of the process. Not giving them feedback would be the cruel, the mean thing to do. How would you... If someone you loved was repeating the same thing over and over again to their own damage, making them look stupid at work or not succeeding, then if you care about them and not speaking up is so much scarier. Watching that person flounder and struggle, it would be so much worse. But if you have their best interests at heart, if you genuinely want the best for them, you can build a relationship where feedback is not this giant, horrible blob. It's part of your relationship with them. And the reason it's really simple but really hard to do is it's all about the relationship you have. It's all about the trust between you. Because to be able to have that moment that isn't so scary and difficult, there's a whole heap of work you have to do in advance. You have to build a relationship where it's really clear that you guys trust and love each other, that you have a mutual interest in seeing each other succeed. And that love for yourself and for the other person is so evident that you have all that trust like crackling off your relationship. Because it should never get to a point where you're sat in a room opposite someone with a piece of paper telling them they're a bit crap at things and you suddenly have to tell them. It should never reach that point. You should have a relationship where these things, this learning is continual and you learn off each other. You feed back to each other all the time. I've had relationships with people I managed where they could bring me a piece of work and I'd look through the piece of work and I'd just look at them and they'd go, yeah, I know. And they'd take it back and they'd go and redo it because they knew it wasn't good enough because we had that strength and depth of relationship. The moment of feedback is almost too late. It's all the work you do up front. That's where you put the hard work in to make feedback really enjoyable. It comes down to trust. Now, how do we build trust? Well, in the way we act and the things we say, the way we treat another human being, the authenticity in how we act, the evidence in how we care for them, the fact that what we say and what we do matches up, the fact that we have consistent values that someone can see very clearly. We build that trust over a long time, and it requires us really to be on our guard the whole time, to be working all the time, to ensure that you treat someone in a way that allows them to believe in you, to put their self in your hands. And really believe that you're not going to drop it. The relationship is the key to good feedback. Just looking at feedback on its own is almost the wrong way around. The relationship is the important thing. Feedback becomes, in a trusting, loving relationship, feedback is constant anyway. It isn't this on its own segment that you have to deal with. It's there all the time. You're constantly feeding back in the way you treat them, in the dynamics of the relationship each day. When you love someone, you want them to grow. Like a parent with a child, you want them to grow and succeed. So you're feeding back all the time. So that's the secret of delivering feedback. It's do all the hard work, do all the hard stuff, have a relationship with someone so linked with trust and love that not feeding back would seem mad to you. And we'll talk more in some other videos about how you build that relationship. And the second section, I just want to touch on another part of feedback that people find really difficult, which is the response. So even in a really trusting, close, strong relationship, the other person can still have a response that causes us grief. They could burst into tears. They could be furiously angry. They could be jealous. They could hate us. There's so many responses that could come up. And what we want out of feedback is for them to not have any of those responses. For us, we want them to go, yeah, no, that's a great lesson. Thank you so much. You are a great teacher. I can go on and do my job now. We're expecting a lot from people with that. And I think we can approach that dynamic by, again, what's the trusting, loving thing to do? Well, the trusting, loving thing to do says they're going to react how they're going to react. I can't control how they react. I can't predict how they're going to react. What I can do is support them whilst they react. I can be there for them. If they burst into tears, then I will sit with them and I will console them and I will let them know that I love them and I'm still there for them. If they're furiously angry, I will sit and wait for that anger to subside and see what's there. That the moment they have an adverse reaction does not mean that I, as a feedbacker, as a manager, have failed. It means that I've got another job to do, which is to support them through that reaction. If you look at the way I tried to think of this was, what is the ultimate feedback you'd have to deliver to someone? And the ultimate feedback you'd have to deliver is a doctor telling someone that they weren't going to be okay, that something was wrong and they weren't going to be okay. And the doctors go in and they send off signals before the event, the tone of voice, the shape of the body, so the person can kind of anticipate what's going to happen. And the doctor stays with someone through their reaction. Through that reaction is there. You don't have to argue them out of it. You don't have to criticize them for the reaction. You don't have to judge them. It's without judgment, pure support. You're just there with the person. And you just stay with them through the emotions. And you help them to deal with what's happened to them when it kind of subsides. And you're there for any questions or queries or whatever. But you don't need to get involved in the emotion reaction, but you do have to kind of be with them there through it. So I hope this has started to change the way you almost perceive feedback. The moment of feedback is not the thing. It's the relationship you have. And managing someone and building that relationship is really, really hard work. But it's worth its weight in gold. Not only to the business, where you'll just get much more out of each other, but also to you. Because if you have that relationship, and I've had it, and it's great, and you have this relationship with someone where you work together, and you're growing, and you're learning, and you accept and love and trust each other, it feels amazing. Loads of these fears subside. The best working relationship I had, where I had no fear feeding back because I knew they wanted it. We had that relationship. So the secret is have genuinely authentically have the other person's best interests at heart. Giving feedback to them becomes so much easier. I hope that would put an interesting spin on things and helped provoke some different types of thoughts. As always, please subscribe. Please like the video if you did like it. Any comments welcome below. And until the next time we can speak, take care.